السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Amma ba'd. My respected brothers and sisters, today inshallah we will study the ayat number 13 and 14, two ayat of the third chapter of Quran, chapter Al Imran. These ayat are in continuation of our last week's topic discussed in ayat number 11 and 12, and they are also will be related to the next few ayat. My respected brothers and sisters, the struggle between the pagans of Mecca and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his followers in Medina after their migration from Mecca to Medina was because of the faith and belief, and it was not based on ethnicity, national origin, color of anybody's skin, the language, the financial status, or any other worldly reason. As long as the believers remain adhered to their faith and observant to the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have always succeeded. The understanding and practicing the glorious Quran strengthen their resolve and will continue to do so if we hold on to it. And they refuted the lies and suspicions disbelievers were spreading about Islam and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his revered followers. The Last Testament Quran and all original divine scriptures warned the true believers at all times against clandestine, alluring efforts and sinister aims of those who were the enemies of truth at all times. The divine scriptures guided and guides all divine scriptures guide and affirm the realities and the criteria of power in the world, emphasizing the inherent weaknesses of faithlessness as a wonderful, beautiful, large boat without a rudder. The scriptures means it's going in not one direction or cannot change direction as it is required. The scriptures give the example of infidelity, of deviating people, that in their defiance they even killed some of the prophets and the righteous people. Of course, the prophets are gone. They are no more after Muhammad al-Mustafa, prophets and messenger. There are no more prophets, no more messengers coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and no other book, divine book is coming after Quran. But the righteous people, those who suffer in the hands of tyrants and brutal rulers, especially in Muslim countries, that continues. And it is because they are against the people or talking the truth, and they stand up and say things against those who are deviating from the mission which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started from Adam alayhi salam, Adam, the prophet, Prophet Adam, and it will continue till the last day. It assures the divine scriptures assures people that Allah is on their side. He is the one, the unequal supreme ruler who bestows and takes away power, who gives power and takes away power when and where and from whom he wants. When a person believes in oneness of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, learns and practices his ordinance. This is the most important part of faith, the practice of faith. And practices the ordinance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his life becomes totally different from that of someone who holds on to any of the confused concepts. We turn to Almighty Allah, Allah's book, to which we submit ourselves in total obedience, which we are supposed to at least. and then to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's authentic traditions for further guidance. With all other confused beliefs and concepts, there is no one to whom we can turn to. And if we have to turn to somebody, there is a very fundamental rule applies. Like Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam has taught us, La ta'ata makhluqin fi ma'siyat al-khaliq. That you are not bound to be in obedience of someone, which if he or she asks you to do something which is against the ordinances, orders, limitation, prohibitions and allowances of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we are in total obedience of Allah. And if somebody is making a rule, a law, or guides us or asks us to do certain thing, if it does not violate the limit of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are supposed to follow that rule of law. My respected brothers and sisters, all original divine scriptures were revealed to guide living souls, not to be read on mazars, on people's after they die, just go to their qabr and read. It is sent for the living souls, and the only help when the person does, and the only help comes when the person does his best to learn and practice the guidance. Other than that, there is none. This is something very funny which I have seen back in Turkey, that during school exams, high school exams, middle school exams, or job selection interviews and exams, you would see outside that school or that department, there will be a lot of elders sitting out there with Quran, reading it, so their child who is in there attending exam would pass the test. Quran is for outside and before when we are being tested or we are going for a job interview or before we die. So we need to remember that the divide between our hearts and the Quran will continue to exist. The divide between our hearts and the Book of Allah will continue to exist and even grow, unfortunately, if we continue to just recite Quran or listen to it as a collection of fanciful religious hymns, totally disassociated from the realities of daily life facing the entire mankind. And why I call it totally disassociated? Because we don't practice what we are reading. And that is a huge disconnect. And nobody is there to help, would help. Even Allah would not help in that situation. The divine scriptures guide us in all aspects of our life in an effective and vigorous manner. It offers solution to particular situations. This was the prologue of today's program. And inshallah, now we come to the recitation of the 13th and 14th ayah of Surah Al-Imran, which is the 3rd chapter. Then we will go into the translation in English language and then to Tafsir. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد كان لكم آية في فئتين التقتا فئة تقاتل في سبيل الله وأخرى كافرة يرونهم مثليهم رأي العين والله يؤيد بنصره من يشاء إن في ذلك لعبرة لأولي الأبصار زين للناس حب الشهوات من النساء والبنين والقناطير المقنطرة من الذهب والفضة والخيل المسومة والأنعام والحرث ذلك متاع الحياة الدنيا والله عنده حسن مآب. Sadaqallahu Ladeen. Translation of today's ayat. Already there has been a sign for you in the two armies which met to fight, one fighting in the cause of Allah and the other of disbelievers, the deniers of truth. They saw them as the twice the number of their own army in their vision, in their eyes. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala supports with His victory whom He wills. Indeed, in that is a lesson for those of vision. The next ayah, ayah number 14, beautified for people is the love of their desire of women and children, heaped up sums of gold and silver, fine branded horses, the cattle and tilled lands. That is the enjoyment of this worldly life, but Allah has the best return with Him. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about women and children, of course He is talking about families. Sadaqallahu Ladeen. The tafsir of today's ayah, my respected brothers and sisters, ayah number 13 of the third chapter of Quran, Surah Al-Imran. In this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we have already presented the translation, studied the translation, it says that already there has been a sign for you in the two armies which met, one fighting in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the other disbeliever. There are some words which we need to understand before we move on. The Arabic word fear, it says قَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ آيَةٌ فِي فِيَتَيْنِ الْتَقَتَ فِيَةٌ تُقَاتِلُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَأُخْرَى كَافِرَةٌ. So fear means a group, a party, a team, and the word fiyatain is the plural of the word fear. Fiyatain means more than one, means two parties, two groups, two teams, two armies. Then the next Arabic word is tuqatil. Tuqatil, my respected brothers and sisters, means fighting, is struggling, and is striving, not killing. There are two types of fighting, and you know as much as we all know this, that there are two types of fighting. Fighting for worldly causes and oppressing the weak to take control over them. Number two, the second type of fighting is to defend oneself when it is the only option left and the oppressor does not want to stop his oppression, does not want to sit down, talk, or back off, means stop his aggression against the other party. The pagans of Mecca did everything when Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Mecca for 10 years. They did everything to try to stop, even throwing garbage at him, astaghfirullah, na'udhu billah. There were attempts made to kill him, then he was stoned many times, he was attacked many times, and all that. But then there were people, those who were telling the pagans of Mecca, that why are you after this man? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So after they tried everything for 10 years, and Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, despite all the hardship they created for him, he did not leave his mission. He did not leave his mission. They even continued after Muhammad al-Mustafa after the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was told to leave. So he left his birthplace and migrated from Mecca to Medina al-Munawwara, which is 252 miles from Mecca al-Mukarramah. This ayah this ayah number 13, is in reference to battle of Badr, the first battle between Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his followers, and the other party, the other group which came to fight them. Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't go there to fight them. They came to Medina from Mecca and met at a place still there, and the cemetery of those martyrs, those who were killed in fighting, martyred in fighting, their graves are still there, and that's the area is called the city of Badr, outskirts of Medina al-Munawwara, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came out of Medina al-Munawwara to defend against the oppressors of Mecca. Those who came from Mecca al-Mukarramah to fight, and their purpose was that they want to just, eliminate Islam, eliminate Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam, astaghfirullah, na'udhu billah, and take his life and completely eliminate this problem which they are facing. And that was a threat to their power. So this is the reference to the Battle of Badr. The next part of the ayah is يَرَوْنَهُمْ مِثْلَيْهِمْ رَايَ الْأَيْنِ وَاللَّهُ يُوَيِّدُ بِنَصْرِهِ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. It says that they saw them as twice the size of their own the army, the number of the soldiers which they have from their own eyes. And Allah supports with His victory whom He wills. The Arabic phrase يَرَوْنَهُمْ مِثْلَيْهِمْ رَايَ الْأَيْنِ means they're actually seeing something from your own eyes, and it has been shown to you as to appear that way. مِثْلَيْهِمْ رَايَ الْأَيْنِ. It means that despite their numerical superiority, the unbelievers came from Mecca. Imagine they had in their mind that there must be a very small group of Muslims and that they would face. But when they came face to face and they saw the Muslim army, it showed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed them the number more than twice of the actual number of Muslims. That was Allah's plan. He led the unbelievers to perceive that the Muslims has a very large army and they have a lot of supporters, when they were indeed very few in numbers. And that put a fear, it was a shock for them that we came to eliminate these people and now they are in such a large number and we have to fight them also. So that put a fear in the hearts of the pagans of Mecca and their army. The same statement is also interpreted in a different way also, and it also applies both ways. And it is the opposite way of what the kuffar saw, that the Muslims saw the unbelievers as only double their own numbers, although they were in fact more than 3 times the number of Muslims, those who came out, the number of believers, the followers of Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam, those who came out to face this army of 1,000 people coming from Mecca. The Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and his forces remained steadfast, and Allah gave them victory at end, which was not possible without Allah's help and His plan. Now let's look at why Allah planned such victory for Muslims, for the believers, and why were they victorious. That victory served as a warning to the disbelievers and the hypocritic allies of their hypocritic allies which were in Medina al-Munawwar, and had a demoralizing effect on both parties. The one party, because they invited them, come over, there are this many number. When they came, they saw the number is much larger. So that demoralized them, that we have been lied to. And then the hypocrites were trying to convince them that no, we don't know what you are seeing. And they are not that many. But they say, no, we see it. We are looking at them and they are double and triple in numbers. Of the original number. You have told us that that's how many they are there to fight you, and they are very ill-equipped. The victory served as a warning to the disbelievers and their allies and had a demoralizing effect on them. The victory is strengthened, on the other hand, the believers and decried their enemies. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and his followers defended fearlessly. They defended fearlessly against an enemy army which was much larger and with much better equipped. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's army did not have much to fight with. The Quran clearly presents the fact. This ayah in Quran and many other ayat clearly presents the fact that at all times Allah's promise to defeat the deniers of the truth and the hypocrite is true. But what is missing? Why they are not being defeated? And the victory, and the other part of this is, the victory will only come The victory is only come to those who respect and follow Allah's limit and fight only for the right cause. Not to take over some territory which is not yours, not to take over somebody's honor or property or family or somebody's belonging, and you fight for that, or somebody's assets and reserves and resources, and you fight for that. That is not, victory is not going to come. If it comes, it will turn into humiliation. Because if Muslims do it, they will be humiliated too. So they need to follow and respect the limit of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and establish His orders on their personal lives. Secondly, Allah has promised to grant victory to the believers even though they may be very few in numbers, is also valid for all time. It was not in Battle of Badr. The second battle gave us another story. When we come to it, we'll talk about it. Battle of Uhud. Battle of Uhud, that day Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered some of the soldiers of his army to defend or to be at a particular place, and they did not follow the directions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they suffered very heavy loss. So the believers need to be certain that the promises of Allah the Almighty are true. They need to do their part of the deal. It said this is a covenant. This life, we have made a covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have repeated it many times, which Quran says it. Alastu bi rabbikum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked all the souls that, am I not your Lord? We all said, Qalu bala. Yes, you most certainly you are our Lord. If we keep that promise, Allah will keep His promise. If we keep the promise, the Muslims need to, the believers need to at all times. Those who were with Jesus, the son of Mary, those who were with Moses, those who were with Abraham, and those who were with all 124,000 prophets and messengers, those who were with them, and they did their part as they were ordered through the scriptures, Allah fulfilled His promise, and He will continue to fulfill His promise. There is no doubt about it. The Battle of Badr, my respected brothers and sisters, historically taught several lessons, important lessons. One being the manners in which the believers and the unbelievers advanced to the battlefield demonstrated clearly the difference in the moral fiber of the two armies. The army of the unbelievers and hypocrites held drinking parties, entertained by the songs and dances by slave girls they brought from Mecca, and some were provided by the hypocrites from Medina. And the prevalent mood of pride and self-indulgence. When we have self-indulgence and when we have false pride and we are away from what we are supposed to do, then that will bring us down in defeat. There will be no victory. And if it looks like that we won, it is not going to be real. It's not going to last, and that will have a lot of other consequences of loss of life and loss of finances and all that, and economic crises and things like that. The army of this is how the army of the disbeliever behaved. On the other hand, the piety, love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and moral restraints of the highest order characterized the Muslim army, the followers, the Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam and his pious, revered followers. The believers were busy in devotion and preparation and remembrance of Almighty Allah, to whom they address all their prayers and supplication for winning this war. The believers want a resounding victory against the much larger army of the disbelievers, and in the quality and the quantity of arms. So the victory clearly indicated which one of the two armies was fighting in the right cause, the cause of the Lord Almighty, and which one of the army does not enjoy the support of the Lord. The outcome of the battle was a shocking humiliation for the heedless of Almighty Allah's might. Those who think that we are mighty, we are powerful, They forget that there is one more powerful than any power. And if you are following his orders and following his commands and respecting his limitations, you will be a winner. And if you don't, no matter what you call yourself, Jews, Muslim, Christians, you won't. You won't. The outcome of the battle was a shocking humiliation for the heedless for Almighty Allah's might. They had been depending on in the strength of their arms and number of their fighters. The Quraysh were foremost in influence. They were a very influential tribe. They were power brokers throughout Arabia. And the defeat at the hands of a few ill-equipped immigrants from Mecca and the peasants of Medina, was a great shock for those people from Mecca. Furthermore, everything was done according to Allah's plan. This was Allah's plan. You be with me, I be with you. If you go against me, you are going nowhere. And according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wisdom, He determines the most suitable time for every event. This should be part of our belief. The end of the ayah, my respected brothers and sisters, the end portion of the ayah says, Inna fi dhalika la ibratan li ulil absar. Indeed, in that war, in that battle, in that conflict, in that battle between the pagans and the hypocrites of Mecca and the Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam, immigrants of Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam and his followers. In that battle, indeed, there is a lesson for those of vision, those who have vision. The victory for believers was a lesson for them as to the effect that if they remain steadfast and not violate the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will give them strength and support in their future struggles. They have to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them, and one of those things was that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them that follow the messenger, what he tells you to do, and then you will have victory and you will succeed. The defeat was a hard lesson, on the other hand, for the believers, deniers and hypocrites, that their superiority in number and equipment, and all lavishness, they came with dancing girls, they came with alcohol, they came with food with them prepared, they came over there and they started doing all that which they wanted to do. And there were these immigrants, those who did not have much, and the peasants from Medina al-Munawwara. They were not rich people. Those who were with Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam, majority of the rich people, even in Medina at that time, a lot of rich people were hypocrites. And then later on, some of them accepted the truth, and they gave up what they used to do. The defeat was a hard lesson for the disbelievers, deniers and hypocrites, that their superiority in number and equipment and all lavishness of life did not help them at all, because they were the aggressor against the weak in number, and less they were against the Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his army, which was weak, and they were very less equipped. And when you go in that kind of a struggle, in that kind of fight, and you are not on the right path, no matter how much equipment you have, you will be destroyed. But they went after the weak, those who were very ill-equipped, and they were very few in number, but they were well connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the important thing is our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all things, not only in battle, even the battles which we fight, the little skirmishes which happens in our houses, in our communities, in our cities and all that. We have to remember that we have to be with Allah. We have to follow His limitations. Only then the lesson is fully learned and understood. Otherwise this life teaches us lessons and gives us reminders at our every breath, my respected brothers and sisters. And the day, during the whole day and whole night, there are lessons for us to learn. But if very few of us pay attention, and very few of us have vision To see and understand something is a vision. And seeing, all eyes see, the animals see. In other words, Muhammad Iqbal, which was a very, very famous poet, rahmatullah alayh, he said something very famous. And I give you the English translation of it. And it says that disbeliever depends on the sword because he lacks in faith. And the believers with true faith needs no weapon to stand up to fight. The next ayah is ayah number 14, and that is زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ وَالْبَنِينَ وَالْقَنَاطِيرِ الْمُقَنْطَرَةِ مِنَ الذَّهَبِ وَالْفِضَّةِ وَالْخَيْلِ الْمُسَوَّمَةِ وَالْأَنْعَامِ وَالْحَرْثِ ذَلِكَ مَتَاعُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَاللَّهُ عِنْدَهُ حُسْنُ الْمَعَابِ. So the translation is that beautified for people is the love of what they desire, of women and children, heaped up sums of gold and silver, fine branded horses and the cattle, and the producing land means farmlands. That is the enjoyment of this worldly life, and Allah has the best return with him. The Arabic word Zuyyin, there are several words which we need to understand, my respected brothers and sisters, in this ayah. Number one is Zuyyin. Zuyyin means to beautify, to decorate, to put some kind of attraction in it, and to allure towards something, and so forth. The second word is, Arabic phrase is Hubbu Shahawat, means love to seek pleasure in something. Love to desire to have a desire of something, and so forth. Arabic phrase minan nisa'i wal baneen means the women and children. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about? Families. The Arabic phrase wal qanatir al muqantarati min al dhahabi wal fiddah. Qanatir al muqantara means the load of things piled up in huge quantity on top of each other. And then the next word is, what the words are, وَالذَّهَبِ وَالْفِدَّةِ means the loads of gold and silver piled up in a huge quantity of gold, huge quantity on top of each other. That is, وَالْقَنَاطِيرِ الْمُقَنْطَرَةِ مِنَ الذَّهَبِ وَالْفِدَّةِ. The next phrase is وَالْخَيْلِ الْمُسَوَّمَةِ, which means, khayl means stallion, a beautiful, young, good-looking horse, and musawwama means of higher breed and quality, which people become pride, which is a pride of people. They become proud of that kind of possession. The Arabic phrase, next Arabic phrase, wal an'ami wal harth, means al-an'am means cattle, all kind of animals. The basically means the livestock, and al-harth means the fertile, cultivated farmland which produces. In Turkish, it's called tarla. The Arabic word mata means the comfort and enjoyment, or something of comfort or enjoyment. The Arabic word al-ma'ab means the place of return, like homecoming, and the joy of returning home. Both are husn al-ma'ab, that the joy of returning home. The discourse of this ayah, my respected brothers and sisters, is that man certainly loves to enjoy certain things of this life, especially men. However, Almighty Allah has infused in our nature to balance what we love. In everybody's nature, we are not animals. Even some animals would fight when those things they see, or they see somebody doing, and they would not do it themselves. So it says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has infused in our nature to balance. This is from Tafsir Al-Qur'an, rahmatullah alayh, and some portions are from Tafsir As-Sa'di, not Suddi, As-Sa'di. In our nature to balance what we love in the light of Allah's guidance. There are a lot of things which allure us, a lot of things which we see, which attracts us, a lot of things which we like to have. But We must not have them. We must not go. We must not go if they are not in line with in the light of the orders of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, however, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has infused in our nature to balance what we love in the light of His guidance and His directions and His limitations and prohibitions and allowances. And we must protect using that the nature, the balance which Allah has infused in our nature. We must protect ourselves against being consumed by our desires, my respected brothers and sisters, and we violate His limitation just to fulfill our desires. The knowledge and realization that we will be questioned, that's what the faith is. We can have faith, astaghfirullah, na'udhu billah, and do everything right. Everything is right. Everything right. And then we don't believe on Day of Judgment. That Allah will question me. We don't have faith if we don't have questioning in our mind and we do our acts according to that fear and that thing, that if I'm doing good, inshallah, Allah will reward me. If I do bad, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide me and refrain from the deliberate disobedience of His limits. That's it. That is something which is infused in every human. In every human. Except those poor, those who do not have, those who have some mental incapacitance that they do not understand. But if they have, everything is fine and dandy in its place, then it is the knowledge and realization that we will be questioned about our acts should hold our worldly desires under control. A person goes out to look for a land or look for a house and all that, and he's already planning that he is going to get a loan on riba, on interest, or buy a car, a beautiful car, and get loan on interest. Who told you that you have to have a beautiful car? Who told you that you have to have that big of a house? Or who told you that you have to have that many acres of land? This is all tama. This is all that we are running after this dunya, and we are bargaining our dunya, our akhirah, for the benefits of this dunya. That's a stupidity. That's misunderstanding of Allah and His limit, and that is against our faith. And keep them. And this is our responsibility, that we should control our desires of worldly things, purify them, and keep them within an honorable relationship. Even even if it is, when it is, you see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first it talks about زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ وَالْبَنِينَ. I have heard so many wrong translation of this word shahwa. We will talk about it inshallah from Quran. We need to know. Shahwat, people have gotten so many wrong meanings from that word because of their lack of knowledge. So it says that we should continue to fight our worldly desires and keep them under control, purify them and keep them within an honorable relationship. If this is about men, if they like women, what does that mean? Just go out and get any woman? Is that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about? If He talks about child, then get any children? Whose child, whose mother, whose wife, whose daughter, whose sister? Could be could be our own. Who is safe if we don't have our desire in our control, in control, and keep them and keep purified desires, an honorable relationship, so that the physical pleasure is in everything, in a large home, in a beautiful car, and in this and that, in women, in children, there is physical pleasure. It pleases your eyes. So that the physical pleasure would not take away the real honor of us having a chance of standing in front of Allah and being forgiven by Him on the Day of Judgment. We have to control our desires in this life, turning to Allah and refraining from His deliberate disobedience, provides the opportunity to be on the right path, my respected brothers and sisters. Let me repeat it. Turning to Allah and refraining from His deliberate disobedience provides the opportunity to be on the right path. Get this opportunity. And when you do it, pray for me that may Allah give me a chance that I become on the right path. The ayah mentions some of our worldly desires, which allures us, my respected brothers and sisters. It reminds us to keep them checked in their appropriate place in our lives and not allow them to suppress and forget what is superior and nobler than our desires. We will talk about it in ayah number 15 next week, that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about, the nobler than your desires of this dunya and more beneficial to the entire mankind, not only humankind, not only to Muslims, to everybody. If they keep their desires in check and do not violate the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who talk about the harmful effects of the suppression of natural desire. Some people say, well, this is natural. How about if somebody's natural desire is towards your car, your house, your property, your land, your wife, your children, your sister, your mother, your daughter? How about that? You see, I mean, it can go both ways. If we can do it, somebody else can do it. Those who talk about the harmful effect of suppression of natural desires, of possessions and enjoyment are physical psychological complex, which results, not physical, psychological complex, which result from such a suppression by people. The parents are suppressing, are saying something. They say, no, this is a this is a natural desire. Why are you suppressing it? If they say that from such suppressions, there are psychological complexes are created, which results from such suppressions, those people also hypocritically agree that our actions cannot be justified if we fulfill those desires by wrong means. You know, you want to have a Porsche car, or you want to have a Maserati. Your neighbor had it. Now you steal it from here and say, well, this was my psychological desire, natural desire, and I wanted to have it, so I stole it, and now it is mine. How, how acceptable is that? As this conflict rages within mankind, my respected brothers and sisters, it gives rise to, it does not suppresses the psychological complex, it raises the psychological complexes. And nobody's life, family, honor, or property remains safe. Remains safe. The ayat addresses that worldly possessions, wealth, gold and silver, ad-dahab wal-fidda, great shining rides, large homes. What are we talking about? Wal-khayl al-musawwamati. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about in today's world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about these beautiful, shiny, high trucks. These beautiful, shiny cars, expensive cars that we are going out and we're feeling proud of it. We're feeling proud. Or large homes and the land and the property. And then we compete. That I have this much land in here, this much land in there, and my business is this and my business is that. If you go deep into it, you will find it, everything is on riba. Nothing is of you or your father. It is somebody else's, you borrow it, you don't pay it, he'll throw you out. What is it? What we cannot understand about all this. And it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this ayah says that this ayah addresses the worldly possessions, the wealth, the gold and silver and the great shiny rides. Large homes and lands and properties are among the strongest desire of mankind, of humankind, mostly men. But women push for it. I want this. Go get it for me. And they wouldn't care, and the men wouldn't have care or shame or enough knowledge to say, I cannot afford it. I cannot afford it. And these are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls it the wrong desires of man, and implies it as uncontrollable greed. Uncontrollable greed. That's what it is, nothing else. The ayah adds, stallions of high mark are breed. وَالْخَيْلِ الْمُسَوَّمَةِ, when it talks about, even in the modern world, my respected brothers and sisters, when you are driving your Maserati, you know, a $90,000 truck, or this and that, you would see in these fast cars, horses remain among one of our pleasures and love and desire to see when it is running or is strolling, or when he is there. Everybody says, look at that beautiful horse. Everybody says. The stallion combines beauty and vigor. Beauty with vigor. Because that's what stallions have. They have the beauty and they have the vigor. And they have the strength. They have intelligence and a close relationship with his owner. With his owner. Even those who do not own or ride horses enjoy the sight of a strong, beautiful horse when it strolls or runs or somebody is riding it. Sunan al-Tirmidhi and Musnad al-Darimi narrated from Sayyidina Abu Qatada that a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and asked him, O messengers of Allah, I want to buy a horse. What type should I buy? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam replied to him, buy a black one with a white spot on the with white spots on the nose and white legs, or some portions of the legs are white, except of an offside one, or a bay with these marking. You will be happy and safe. This is in hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The ayah also mentions cattle. Ayah mentions cattle and fertile cultivated farmland that produces. The two are very closely linked together. You know, the cattle and the fertile producing land. They are closely linked together in our minds and also in our real life. People love the scene of greenery, farm, the dairy product, the produces, the meat supply from these cattle, and the fruits blossoming on the tree. We take pride in that. Even if we don't own them, we go for you pick farms just to look at it. Pick some fruits ourselves. I brought these 5 tomatoes from you pick farm. We feel attracted to own them. We feel attracted to owning them. If you have capacity and if you can own it from your hard-earned money without going into riba, go for it. Bismillah, buy it. The Quran mentions all of the above before stating their real value. These are the comforts of this life. Means none of this is going to help you in qabr. And none of this is going to help you on Day of Judgment. So that we keep our priorities straight, my respected brothers and sisters, and straight and strive and achieve things by rightful means, so we can afford that, we can buy that, we can afford to have that. That's okay. And then help others to provide employment on that, or distribute some free food which is more than our need, or more than the need which you wanted to sell and make money on. And these things are not your truck, huge truck, your beautiful car, your Maseratis and your big houses and all that. That is not to compete. That is not for compete. Somebody doesn't have it, we look down at him. And we force him. Go buy. Go buy a house. But we were not going to show him a house bigger than ours. We want him to buy it, but it should be smaller than my house. This is all competition. And this is what this ayah means. This portion of the ayah means these are the comforts of this life. Have nothing to do with qabr, with nothing with grave, and nothing to do with Day of Judgment. The one by one, isn't that true? That one by one, we all leave those things behind, and others benefit from it after we are gone. And the day would come when all of our desires and all of our possessions would vanish and perish in front of our eyes. Vanish and perish in front of our eyes. Then, like it or not, we will be gathered, we will hear a call, and we will be gathered together and run towards the place of assembly and see the value of our account we made, and we made deposits in with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not in your lands, not in your property, not in your big cars, not in your huge houses, not in your bank balance and gold. And fidda, Quran talks about wad-dhahabi wal-fidda. It's nothing about that. It will all be perished. No matter which bank you took a vault and deposited, safe deposit vault, and deposited there, it will all be eliminated and perished. And we will be running to see the account which we opened with Allah. Let's think about that. Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the phrase زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ. The mankind love the desires, means adorned, beautified, and desires made alluring. Their desires made them alluring. They allure them as something. This is something as painted in glowing colors, which look at it and it attracts you. That's how this dunya is. Sarab, the mirage, my respected brothers and sisters. Mirage, my respected brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala adorns all these beauties which we see. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala adorns the beneficial thing for people to acquire them rightfully. It's an adornment by Allah if we acquire it rightfully and treat them as treasure awarded by Allah, not that I earned it myself. It came to us from Allah. He adorned it for us. We earned rightfully and we spend rightfully, and now it is a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We say, oh, that's my house. That's your house? Really? On the other hand, my respected brothers and sisters, Shaitan is the adorner. He adorns things, he beautifies things through wrongdoing and haram. You know, you can go to places, go to the bars, drive from outside. You can see from outside the sign at the bars, the liquor stores, the gambling places, and all other places, prostitution, this and that. All these things, they allure you, they attract you, they're beautiful signs, they bring you inside. But we leave our akhirah at the door, and when we come out, we forget to pick it up. Shaitan is the adorner of wrongdoing and haram. Those who get accumulated, those who accumulate haram and wrong things, or the right things, acquired by wrong means, Shaitan will walk away from them on the day of judgment. Though he adorned it for them, they ran for it, and they say, he told us to do it. He will say, no, I didn't. I just showed it to you. You ran for it and got it. Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anh, when he heard this ayah, he said, now, O our Lord, when you have adorned it for us, you have adorned it, all of this for us, immediately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the next ayah number 15, which we will discuss inshallah next week, which was it was revealed immediately after. There are many ayats which were revealed because of the questioning or comments. After the questioning are the comments of the companions of Prophet Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The Arabic word, my respected brothers and sisters, shahwa, is wrongfully used in wrong meanings, and they have been translated wrong. The simple example is from chapter Fussilat, which is 41st chapter of Quran, ayah number 31, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Nahnu awliya'ukum fil hayati dunya wa fil akhirah, walakum fiha ma tashtahi anfusukum, walakum fiha ma tad'un. The meaning is, from the angels are saying that by the orders of Allah, that we are your allies in this worldly life and in the hereafter, if you are following the proper guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and acquiring things. And then there angels say that we were your allies in the worldly life and in this on the day of the judgment, and there you will have whatever your soul desires. Tashtahi means to desire something, to need something, to request something, to wish for something. That's what it means. and it has been translated, in a vulgar way. And you will have, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this ayah, and you will have therein whatever you wish. فِيهَ وَلَكُمْ فِيهَا مَا تَشْتَهِي أَنفُسُكُمْ وَلَكُمْ فِيهَا مَا تَدَّعُونَ. My respected brothers and sisters, our desires and needs could be right or wrong, and permissible or prohibited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are given intellect. It is infused in our nature that we can choose any time we want right from wrong. But most of the time we choose the wrong and we give up the right, following and obeying or submitting to all our wrong desires, even if it is from our close relatives, from our parents, from our husband, the wives, our children, our sons, our daughters. Following their wrong desires will ruin and destroy us. And it is ruining and destroying us. Sahih Muslim narrated from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the Jannah, the paradise, is about following difficult things for you in this life, and the fire is surrounded by following our desires. Sayyidina Anas radiallahu anhu related from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We have about 5 minutes, and inshallah we will finish in time. Rasulullah sallallahu Sayyidina Anas related from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, saying that the paradise is only obtained by crossing the deserts of disliked things, of hardship, and putting up with different kind of roadblocks, different kind of hardship, different kind of tests, trials and tribulation. It's like crossing a desert. This and that, it says the paradise is only obtained just like by crossing the desert of disliked things and putting up with hardship. One is only saved from the fire by abandoning, by giving up one's appetites and wrong desires. If we have a wrong desire, we know it is wrong. We travel to it. Look at this. We travel, we know something is wrong. We travel to it. We lie to people around us and go to it and do it and come back and then lie again that we didn't do it. This is all mine. I obtained it for the right way. And it is obvious that we did not. It is obvious that we did not. We need to give up our wrong desires and our appetites of having these desires and having these worldly things around us. Obtain it if you have earned it from halal means, not borrowing somebody else's money, claim it's yours. It means that the path to Jannah is difficult to travel. It's not easy. It requires us to control. Look at the life of the prophets and messengers, my respected brothers and sisters. Their life was not bed of roses. They suffered the most in the history of mankind. They suffered the most. But they will be the one entering the Jannah before anybody. Why? The path to Jannah is difficult to travel, my respected brothers and sisters. It requires us to control our desires of right from wrong, knowing what is right and what is wrong, what of my means are right and that I should not go to the wrong means to get my desire. And the path to the fire. The path to the fire is very easy, my respected brothers and sisters. It has a lot of alluring in it, lot of pride in it, lot of attraction in it, and we run towards it. The path of fire is easy and it is without hardship, and one just follows the desire. Just imagine the hypocrisy, the level of stupidity that we run to follow our desires to get in the fire. Allahu Akbar. What is kufr? What is nifaq? Why can't we use the power which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has infused in us to do the right thing? To do the right thing to help who? Help the community? No, help yourself, and then leave behind progeny which will be proud of you. This shows us that one of the prime purposes of the revelation of glorious Quran is mentioned, like it is mentioned in first few ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah. This is the reason that the first few ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah was placed where they are placed. Sunan al-Tirmidhi, my respected brothers and sisters, narrated from Sayyidina Al-Miqdam and Sahal ibn Abdullah radiyallahu an, that they were asked, what makes it easy for a person to leave this world and its desire? They replied, it is required for him to keep himself busy with what he is commanded to do. We don't understand what we are commanded to do. We recite it, we memorize it, we listen to it, we turn it on in our car, but we don't understand it. And if we understand it, we have a problem in practicing it. We have a problem in practicing it. Finally, and I'll end at that, inshallah, then Almighty Allah says, Wallahu indahu husnul ma'ab. And as we discussed, let me give you the translation of this, and Allah has the best return with Him. As we learned, the word ma'ab is a place of return, is a homecoming, a place we will go back to. That's where we started from. Someone is spending life in remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in remembering that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching him, and knowing that He is present everywhere. And he makes a mistake and he repents for every wrong act he or she performed in his life. The best ma'ab, that is the best ma'ab, that is the best homecoming, forgiveness and mercy and welcoming paradise, and name is called from paradise that come enter. You have been through a lot in this life. Well, mercy and welcoming paradise is promised by Allah on the day of His return, ma'ab, on the day of the return, on His homecoming, going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being buried in the qabr and taken out on the day of judgment. My respected brothers and sisters, this entire ayah is meant to, this is the purpose, that it's the conclusion of this ayah is that this entire ayah is meant to show the shallowness and insignificance of our desires of this world, and to encourage hope for a good return, husn al-ma'ab, a good return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after the day of judgment. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Aqulu qawli hada wastaghfiruhu innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. My respected brothers and sisters, I would like to add a reminder that if you receive a request in my name or in the name of Tafsir program for some kind of donation or collection is being made, and this much money is short and this much money is needed, do whatever you want, but know that we do not collect money. We do not take donation. This program, this effort, if Allah accepts it, it is for my grave, not for dollars, not for Turkish liras, not for Pakistani rupees or Saudi riyals or anything else. I don't need money. So my name is being used to make collections and the name of the Tafsir program. And may Allah guide those who wants guidance. Allahumma rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhab an-nar wa qina adhab al-qabr wa qina adhab al-hashr wa qina adhab jahannam wa adkhilna al-jannata ma'a al-abrar برحمتك يا عزيز يا غفار. اللهم إن علينا حقوقا كثيرا فيما بيننا وبينك، وعلينا حقوقا كثيرا فيما بيننا وبين خلقك. اللهم ما كان لك منها فاغفره لنا، وما كان لخلقك فتحمله عنا، وأغننا بحلالك عن حرامك، وبطاعتك عن معصيتك عمن سواك يا واسع المغفرة. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين، وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأزواجه وذرياته وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا إلى يوم الدين وسلام الله عليكم ورحمته وبركاته والفاتحة اللهم La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Thank you for joining us. Inshallah, next week, same place, same time. Wassalamullahi alaikum wa rahmatuhu wa barakatuh.